Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Insurance Journal's Academy of Insurance's weekly webinar after show. I'm your host, I'm your host, George, and joining me for the after show today is the director of the Academy of Insurance, Mr. Patrick Raitt, and our instructor for today's class. Today's class was Who is Paying for This? Or Who is Paying for This? A three-part class on risk transfer, part 3. And our instructor for today is Mr. Casey Roberts. Casey, welcome to the after show. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for attending today.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Patrick, for having me. And folks, this is just three guys hanging out, just chilling and enjoying each other's company. It's really what it is.
So, Police Academy 7, Mission to Moscow, starring Christopher Lee. Nobody asked a journalist about this, but they
That was close.
it's a real yeah. I haven't seen you do that since last after show. So welcome. You're welcome, as Patrick Raitt would say. Somebody once asked them why they made Police Academy 7, and one of the producers responded, because there's so many unanswered questions from Part 5, Mission Miami Beach. And but actually, Part 3 of this webinar series, I believe, was constructed because there were so many unanswered questions from 1 and 2.
And this is the serious portion of our presentation today, folks. Okay.
Casey, why was there a part 3 to this? Where did you deliberately craft this whole series because there were unanswered questions from 1 and 2, or why did you save all the endorsements for the end? Give us the skinny. What's happening? Why'd you do that?
George,
thank you for doing that.
I think your question is unanswerable.
Fair enough. I'll move on to my next question.
No,
you mentioned in the middle. First of all, you introduced a new word into the after show lexicon, hot pants. So thank you for that. I'll thank you because I don't know if Patrick can legally thank you, but I'll thank you for saying hot pants in the middle of the class. And also
regards to flammable slacks only from a vendor's endorsement perspective.
Got it. Thank you for decriminalizing that word in the context of our classes. And also you said, you were going to go into a number of endorsements, and you had a number of legal cases that were examples from those endorsements, and you weren't going to talk about them all, but you talked about the Pep Boys versus Sigma case.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, that was not an entertaining case, but a really interesting one. First of all, I didn't know you couldn't sell coolant to minors. I guess you can't. And second of all, why didn't you give us more court cases? And is that grounds for a part 4?
You know, Patrick, that there's another class. We could have a class or two. I bet we could do 2 classes, one on liability, one on property coverages, regarding interesting court cases that changed the flow of ISO coverage forms or something. I don't know, but
yeah,
George, I enjoy the English language. Okay, that's a strength. It's also a weakness. So that's why I enjoy getting with you guys on this program, because I just find it fascinating. And even though sometimes when I'm speaking and I get caught up and I may brutalize the language, my intent is to be as specific as I can be in the moment, because that's the world of insurance is about, specificity of language. And when it's not specific, we get to go out and play in it as much as we want and make it sing and dance and do what we want it to do. And so I just enjoy those who are far more learned than I, those involved in the world of the legal system, who will then look at the language and say, this is what you really said. Not sure this is what you meant, but this is what you said. It reminds me, quite frankly, of my late wife, and this, when she would say, oh no, I'm not listening to your words, I'm paying attention to your actions. And I said, but baby, I'm a words guy. My words mean something. Don't do that to me. But oh well, that's how life is.
Patrick, you mentioned the CG 2010. You didn't mention it, but when Casey started talking about that, you said you in the chat section of our class, you said, "Go Casey." Why is that? Why did that cull that exhortative response from you? And among all the endorsements Casey talked about, why was that? Why that make you like have this epiphanacious reaction?
Yeah, the CG 2010 is a case study in just what Casey was talking about. What happens when an insurance company provides coverage that they didn't know they were providing or had not intended to provide and wouldn't have provided except that a legal case was brought up, a court case happened, and a judge or a jury decided that the language meant something other than what the company had wanted for it to mean. And you can see that evolution through 30 years now or 40 years now, of different changes and tweaks, some of them quite a bit more significant than others. Not only that, it's also a case study in the evolution of different laws around the country, where you begin to see caps on tort liability, or you begin to see certain caps on judgments that can be received, that can be granted against a municipality or a county or certain entities or what have you, because we're seeing such a significant change between the initial edition of that endorsement through the years to now, starting with trying not to provide coverage for completed operations, and trying not to provide coverage broader than what the policy provides, and on it goes. That's really the behind, as Casey put it, my man crush with the CG 2010.
So George, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I have to ask my question with a pre-question, if you will. Do you have a background in the world of insurance?
I do now. I've had one since I joined the academy, but before that, I do not have a background other than being an insured.
Okay. So then from your perspective, when Patrick and I start getting excited about talking about policy language in court cases, as someone who's not directly involved in the world of insurance, what do you think about the stuff that we talk about as an example? Does it sound like a bunch of nerdy blah, 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 or what's your take?
No, because I for different reasons. I mean, insurance is, everyone needs insurance. Everyone should know as much about insurance as they can know. I have the catbird seat where I can learn a lot about the policies, and get as informed as possible. In fact, we had a class where it was the declarations page was discussed in an auto insurance class, and a couple of California trips ago, when I was renting my car, I said, "Hey, can I get the declaration? Can I? No, the loss damage waiver."
Loss damage waiver.
And I did not know that before we did that class. And for some reason, my wife was impressed by the fact that I asked for the loss damage waiver because she didn't even know what it was. So,
did your wife just say, "Honey, I love it when you talk loss damage waiver"? Is that what you said?
she did not say it for some reason. So I love the classes we do, like essential insurance terms and concepts. I do the audiobooks for the academy generally. So there was an audiobook we did for Larry Juanos's professional lines and oral history book, and he had a chapter where he's breaking down some definitions and things. So I love that. I love the etymology of words, and I love law, and I love insurance and how it all kind of comes together. So for me, when you and Patrick talk about endorsements and policy language and everything, you do it in a fecund way where I can easily understand it. And I mean, I want to understand it so that it may be part of it, but absolutely, I've had classes and things where I didn't, even after the class, I didn't understand what was talking about because of the level of instruction possibly. But no, when you talk about it, I want to learn about it, and you do it, and you explain things in a way that's easy to understand and easy to relate to for me.
No, okay. Thanks. I just wanted to know.
And that's interesting because, Casey, that's the first time somebody's asked this of George about his insurance background and whatnot. And, he's had an interesting requirement here, having to deal with all of these insurance instructors. And I have to say that it's been it's been a testimony to some of the instructors, the people that we have that come and teach with us, that are generally interesting people and they don't teach this insurance thing. I mean, Casey, I have had classes where the instructor was just bad. They barely kept themselves awake, let alone the rest of the people in the room. And we don't have that problem with the academy. I was just conversing with the academy statistician, who has told me now Casey has moved up into a three-way tie as the instructor with the third most number of classes instructed with the Academy of Insurance at 23.
Who am I tied with? Who do I have to beat?
You are tied actually with two real pillars. Frank Panaccio, or excuse me, Fred Fisher.
Okay.
And Nancy German.
Both people I know. Yeah.
I think Nancy and Fred both have upcoming classes, right? So we got to get you back on the schedule, Casey.
They're going to get ahead of me then. And I think I'm done for the year. I'm going to have to, if you need something Christmassy, let me know.
You're on. Just to let you know, you're only behind two other active instructors. So we've got, but there are, I think that says a lot to me for your willingness to work with us and your interest in bringing up the general level of education of insurance professionals in the industry, because as we all know that this industry is rife with people who, and I think every industry is, but people who are interested in doing the job they have to do. They don't want to learn everything they need to learn. And there are agents whose business model is just sell the policy, let the company deal with what does it cover. And that to me, that's not the right way to do it. And to me, that's an agency that is setting itself up to be plinked off by the app first agency, because an app on my phone can do the same thing.
Yeah. And it gets back to part of why I asked George the question, is because I was very blessed when I first got into the business, Patrick. I had a district manager who taught me that one of the biggest importance we had was we had the ability to take language in an insurance policy, which most people never will read, and we had the ability to make it understandable to folks, not as a substitute for them reading and understanding, but to possibly encourage them to read and understand it. And so, without getting too serious, because I don't like to hear myself being serious, I just think when we have the ability to stimulate people's interest in our product so that they really want to say, okay, maybe I should pay a little more attention to what I'm buying, how it works, what it does for me, what it doesn't do for me. That's good stuff. I mean, this how I'm going to manage it is just as good stuff. Good to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to know, Casey, you talked about different endorsements. You talked about the 2010, and then you talked about other ones, the 2033 and the 2037, but you basically said that they were, I mean, you kind of alluded to the fact that it all kind of goes back to the 2010, like they still need to adhere to things in the 2010. Would you say that the 2010 is the Mr. Roberts of that equation, and any other endorsements like the Ensign Pulver of that algorithm? You're on a pitch count, Casey.
I'm done. There is no way to properly answer such an erudite question.
Patrick, I think I've asked 2 unanswerable questions, which may be a record for me in in our after show.
Academy
goings on.
statistician concurs. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, that is an up note to them. So we do. I guess I would say that as a layperson and somebody who's now had more than a cursory interest in the subject, and more so as we go on. That's all the Academy wants to do. That's all Loris wants to do. I'm sure, if I'm not mistaken, is help insurance professionals bring the best teaching in front of them. So at the end of every class, I always say, tell us what you want. Classes, courses. Do you want CE credits in your state? Do you want media? Do you want more music? Do you want anything? We want to be the best we can be for you. We'll take requests. So we'll tell you if we can do it, how long it may take us to do it, but we want to know what you are interested in so we can keep you coming back. And we thank you all for your support, all of us collectively. So
yes, we
Casey,
do.
now I'm looking forward to your Christmas class. I don't know. We'll have to. What do you think?
Maybe we should make it Christmas song duets a la insurance, since you're the inspirational writer in that regard.
What do you think, Patrick?
I think that duet. I'll sit back and watch you all sing duets. That's great. Appreciate that. That's
And we should
wonderful.
talk about some home insurance. Is the HO 25 a Christmas home insurance endorsement that we could maybe dream up something for?
Oh.
Well, on that note, this is your host, George, saying thank you, Patrick Great, the director of the Academy of Insurance, and today's instructor, Casey Roberts. Tied for 3rd on the all-time, Academy of Insurance instructor list, but Nancy Drummond's got a new one coming up. So, Casey, we got to get you back on. And thanks to everybody for coming today. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Stay safe out there.
Thank you all.